there, but we really appreciate your time. We want to go straight to Miami Beach now, where former President Bill Clinton is addressing the annual conference of mayors in Miami Beach. He's there greeting the crowd. More than 250 mayors from across the country gathered together. The 85th annual meeting of mayors. We've been waiting for him to take the stage for several hours now as he continues to greet the crowd. He's expected to talk about a variety of things, sustainability, livability in cities, but with so much going on, not just the health care debate, but the state of the Democratic Party, the state of all the investigations across the House, the Senate, and the special counsel into the White House, and links to Russia, the possibility of collusion, and the possibility of obstruction of justice. We will see if he mentions any of that as he walks over to the podium. We hand it over to former President Clinton.
First of all, I want to thank Mayor Levin for that unbelievable introduction. This is a good example of Clinton's second law of politics: always be introduced by a good friend. They will exaggerate your virtues, minimize your vices, and otherwise try to pull the shades over your eyes. I thank you. I want to thank Mayor Cornett for his leadership of the conference and for having me at the 20th anniversary of the Oklahoma City bombing. It was a very moving thing. After the bombing, the city adopted a whole new motto and a commitment to inclusion and to working together that is profoundly moving. And when you see it in practice, it makes you want to emulate it. I want to thank the mayor not only for having us here in Miami Beach, and I guess you all got his world-renowned global warming tour. I know he also got you a Shinola watch from Detroit, which I think has not been delivered yet, but it's a powerful thing. I have been there many times, and I've probably bought more of those watches than any individual American, just giving them away because it makes a point. They sell only the watch works are made in Switzerland, and it's part of their marketing because every one of those watches costs between 10 and 20% of what it would cost you anywhere in the world, because everything else is made in America. And there are two production lines, one of them headed by a woman who was cleaning the building, an old, empty General Motors building, when Tom Karlogos, who sucked $45 million of his own money in this without a clue whether it would work, met her, and he said, "You're smart. You think you could work on the production line?" She said, "Sure." So he put her to work. A few weeks later, he said, "You're the best watch worker we've got. All these big hulking guys I hired keep coming to you to figure out how to do it better. You think you could manage a production line?" She said, "Sure." So I get there, and here's this woman who just a few weeks earlier was on her knees cleaning a building, running a production line, making wonderful watches, rebuilding the economy of one of our cities. It's a metaphor for what all of you believe in and what you can do. So the mayor, I'm really kind of mad at the voters because, you know, back when he had more free time, he'd go interesting places with me and we had a lot of fun. And now he's got a real job and I barely see him. But I want to congratulate you publicly on your engagement, for bringing your fiance and her family here with your mom and your cousin, and it'll make you a better man, Philip. So I wish you well. I want to thank Tom Cochran for his long service to this group. You know, I met with the mayors every single year I was president, and I always look forward to it. And I always look forward to it. And in no small measure, I think this organization has thrived because in sunshine and storm, you show up because you believe in the potential of America's cities, and I thank you for that. I want to acknowledge my mayor, Mayor de Blasio, and congratulate First Lady Chirlane McCray for her award and all the other awardees. There are so many friends here, I wouldn't have time to say anything else, but I do have to say that the mayor of Little Rock, Mark Stodel, is here, and that's where my Presidential Library and Center are. He went to work for me in 1974, 41 years ago. I'm pretty sure he wasn't old enough to vote. And if not, he'll appreciate the exaggeration. The longtime mayor of Boston, Tom Menino, who was a good friend of Hillary's and mine, once said the true privilege of being mayor is that I have the opportunity to be everyone's neighbor. I think his successor, Marty Walsh, is proving to be a worthy good neighbor. But that's really true for all of you. I got up this morning and I wrote this out, so if you will forgive me, I normally, to speak off the top of my head, but this is what I sort of think you do. You're a neighbor because you actually see and hear from your constituents every day. I'll never forget walking down the streets of Columbia with Steve Benjamin. A funky little place he took me in to get coffee and rolls. Some of the things I've done with many of you. You don't see these people as demographic groups to be delivered whole cloth for votes. You see them as real human beings who want a chance to work, to learn, to start businesses, to raise kids on safe streets, to live in decent, affordable housing, and to be able to retire in dignity and to be of use in old age. They're likely to be proud of their own identity, but to relish urban diversity. They want police they can trust, rely on, and look up to, without worrying about whether their kids will not come home someday because of the color of their skin, the way they dress, their fondness for tattoos, or just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. And of course, they want the garbage picked up and the potholes fixed. They hire you to figure out how to do all this and to keep them involved along the way. Otherwise, your job is a snap. This morning you met about sustainability, health care, and jobs. When I leave, you'll talk about the need for immigration reform and to find ways to curb gun violence. The commitment you have to actually doing real things that affect people's lives in a positive way is the main reason I showed up every year to talk to you when I was in the White House, and have come back several times since. The reason I have invited so many of you to appear at the Clinton Global Initiative or the Clinton Global Initiative for America. I am grateful to you all just for showing up. I used to say I went to the White House as a governor, served as president, and came out as a mayor. Yes. And what I meant by that is, I found then, still find it profoundly alien that public rhetoric is divorced from the real lives of real people. Mayor Emanuel is here. He came to the White House with me, and he took a much more circuitous route. He went to the White House, and he went to Congress, and President Obama took him back to the White House. He finally found his way home to Chicago insanity as mayor, where, if you listen to him, he is solely responsible for breaking the World Series jinx. Most of you were smart and just took the right job in the first place, and I congratulate you for it. There is no point in any other politics other than that which dominates being a mayor today. The rise of tribalism all over the world is basically, I'm convinced, a reaction to the profound dislocations of the global financial crisis and the speed with which all the old social and economic arrangements have been uprooted, and the deepening decades-long trend toward greater inequality. Then you can add your own list. But in the end, what tribalism amounts to is politics rooted in a simple principle. It's us versus them. I want us to win, and for us to win, they have to lose. If you did that, most of you would be out of a job. You can't just pick up the garbage in some neighborhoods or fix the potholes in others. And if even people suspect you do, in New York, you read about it in the newspapers every day. Sometimes in our city, you get shot first and the questions are asked later, but nonetheless, there's a reality to all this. Oh yeah, we have to grapple with what one of my favorite writers, Bill Bishop, wrote in a book called The Big Sort. He lives in Austin, Texas. And he's a liberal Democrat, makes no secret about it. But he lived in a neighborhood that had one Republican family in a voting precinct where John Kerry defeated President Bush 3-1. And he said, I loved the fact that I had a Republican neighbor. We went walking every day. Our children played together. We had great arguments. I learned so much. But I later learned that I was the only person who was nice to him. So he moved to a neighborhood in Austin where President Bush beat John Kerry 4-1. And the argument of the book is that both neighborhoods were poor because of this move. And he said, I started looking and realizing that increasingly Americans really are. We're less racist, sexist, homophobic, religiously prejudiced than we used to be. We just don't want to be around anybody that disagrees with us or read or look at anything that disagrees with what our established opinion is. And that has led to reinforcing these trends that I already mentioned. However, there's not as much of it in America's cities for the simple reason that real life keeps intruding. And you are privileged to be on the cutting edge of those intrusions. Real life questions mean there's not as much blatant discrimination against immigrants. Because if you live in a city, you're more likely than not to know that immigrants are twice as likely as native-born Americans to start new jobs and half as likely to commit crimes. If you live with the right kind of diversity, you might even know that the murder rate by Muslim Americans is 1/3 the national average, not 3 times the national average. So, what does all this mean? It means one of the advantages of your coming together is that in communities at least of 30,000 or more, you're comfortable with and see the promise of diversity of backgrounds and skills and thought. You're more likely to understand that no matter how good it is politically from time to time to practice tribalism, us versus them is a very poor way to run any kind of railroad. Economics, about which I think I demonstrated I know a little, is about addition, not subtraction. Creative societies are about multiplication, not division. And good politics is about problem solving and opportunity seizing, not how to stretch the limits of acceptable use of power. That's how we got to be the longest lasting, freely elected democracy in all of human history. We have a Constitution which drives us all nuts from time to time because it slows things down. But there's supposed to be, because of our Constitution, some things we just won't do.
That is former President Bill Clinton speaking to a gathering of more than 250 mayors for the 85th Conference of Mayors in Miami Beach, Florida. He talked a little bit about immigration, diversity, saying that us versus them is no way to run a railroad. However, he did not mention health care, division within the Democratic Party, or any of the investigations that are facing the current president and administration. So we will leave it at that. That does it for this hour of CNN Newsroom. I'm Boris Sanchez in for Frederica Whitfield. I'll be back with you at tomorrow.